For this video, we are going to be discussing equations of circles. So the equations for circles are all going to follow this general equation. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where the point hk is the center, and the point xy is some point that is on the circle, and r is the radius. So you can see that this triangle here kind of shows how the equation came about, where x minus h, that's the horizontal distance from the center to the point, and y minus k, that's the vertical distance from the center to the point on the circle. And we can use those along with the Pythagorean theorem to figure out how long the radius is, so we end up getting this equation right here. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So this is going to be our general equation no matter what our circle is. So let's take a look at some examples of some problems we can do using this. So we're going to use our equation here to find the center and the radius. So we're given this equation. X minus 7 squared plus y plus 4 squared equals 225. And we know that our general equation is given by x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So to find our center, we just need to figure out what are h and k. So if we look through here, we know it's x minus h. Well, here I've got x minus 7, so the y, or the x coordinate of my center is 7, and then it's y minus k. Here I have y plus 4. Well, we see this is minus, this is plus. We can think of this as this y plus 4, we could think of as being y minus negative 4. So that gives us our center at 7, negative 4. And then the radius, well, we know r squared is 225. If we take the square root of both sides, we get r equals 15. So our radius is 15. So if I drew a circle, bear with me, this is probably going to be a bad circle. I'd have a center at 7, negative 4. And then if I drew that circle, like I said, bad circle, pretend this is a center, and then drew the radius, I would know that the radius would be 15. So that's how we use the equation to find both the center and the radius. So now our next three examples are going to be all about finding the equation. So there are going to be three different ways we're going to do this, and we're going to start with finding the equation given the center and the radius. So we're going to write the equation of a circle with a center at 3, 4 and a radius of 6. Well, we know our general equation is always x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So looking at this, we know we've got this center, 3, 4. 3 is our h, 4 is our k. Always going to be the center is hk. So 3 is our h, 4 is our k. So if we put that into the equation, we get x minus 3 squared and y minus 4 squared. It tells us our radius is 6, so we get 6 squared. We're not quite done yet. We know 6 squared is 36, so to finish our equation, we put in 6 squared, we replace with 36. So here is our equation. X minus 3 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 36. So any point x minus y has to go in here to give us 36 if we do x minus 3 squared plus y minus 4 squared to get 36. So this right here is the equation, and we found it given the center and the radius. Now how about, for example, 3, what if we were given the center and a point? All right, so we're going to write the equation of a circle with a center at 2, 1 with 7, 5 on the circle. So we know our center. Here's H. Here's K. But what we don't know is what is our radius. All right, so let's work this out. We know x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Now, to figure out what r squared is, we know h and k are, oh, I actually got this backwards. Well, so we're going to have to fix this because I messed this whole thing up. This should be 7 minus 2 squared and 5 minus 1 squared, which gives me 5 squared and 4 squared, which gives me 25. I don't want it little like that. And 4 squared, which is 16. And that makes this 41. All right, well, I'm going to kind of walk us through this entire thing now that I've put it out here. All right, so now that I've fixed that, let's go through this. We know our 2 and our 1 are h and our k. 7, 5 is on the circle, so I can say 7, 5. 7 can be our, oh, I got a button stuck here. 7 can be what we use as our x value. 5 can be what we use as our y value. So those go into x and y. Now if I want to work this out simplifying, 7 minus 2 is 5, 5 minus 1 is 4, 5 squared is 25, 4 squared is 16, and 41 is our r squared. Now, that tells us that r equals the square root of 41, but we don't really need to worry about that because we're looking for r squared anyways. So now that we've got that, we're going to take this 7 and 5 out because we want to have x and y in there. And our answer is just going to be x minus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 41. Because we figured out that r squared was 41, we knew from what we were given that h was 2 and k was 1. So this is how we figure out the equation of a circle given the center and the point. And our final example, and this is the harder one, is finding the equation given the endpoints of the diameter. So we're going to write the equation of this circle, and we're given that the endpoints of a diameter are -1, 1, and 5, 1. And here we got to think, what's our problem? We need to have both the center and a radius. And we don't actually have either one of those. So we're going to have to figure them out. Well, if we take a look at this, the center point is halfway across the diameter. So if I can find the midpoint of these 2 points, that'll give me the center point. So to find the midpoint, I use midpoint formula, -1 plus 5 over 2, and 1 plus 1 over 2. -1 plus 5 is 4 over 2 gives me 2. 1 plus 1 is 2 over 2 gives me 1. So we figure out that we have a midpoint of 2, 1. All right, and now we need to figure out our radius. Well, now we're going to go back to what we did in the previous example. We can pick either one of these. I'm going to use 5, 1. Plug them into our equation. 5 minus 2 squared plus 1 minus 1 squared equals r squared. 1 minus 1 is 0, so this is just going to be plus 0. 5 minus 2 is 3 squared. That's 9 equals r squared. All right, now that we've done that, now we have all the information we need to write our equation. We see x minus our h, which is 2, squared plus y minus our k, which is 1, squared equals my radius squared, which is 9. So this is the equation of our circle, and we did it using the endpoints of our diameter. So this just added another step, which was to find the center by using the midpoint formula. So I'm going to leave you with two try-it problems. Number one says find the center and radius given this information here, given the equation. And number two says write the equation for the circle given the center and this point on the circle.